We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Right. Fucking thing sucks.
It is Friday, July 28th, and we are back in the sanctuary to bring you guys another episode of the Screaming Idiot Show. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Whoop, whoop. Hope everybody's enjoying their week. As I mentioned previous episodes, I am trying to remember to give you guys the date of which we record. That way, when you listen and we talk about something that maybe happened at this current time period, you're not like, well, them motherfuckers they're a month late. Well, there's a reason for that. So don't bring the pitchfork torches.
We are Netflix 2.0.
Yeah, binge the shit out of us on Patreon. If you're not already a Patreon subscriber, hop over there and check it out. $5 a month gets you instant access to the entire season and all of the bonus content. Got a couple new subscribers. Very thankful for you guys. As always, follow all of our social medias, minus Twitter, because I deleted that shit because I got sick and tired of it. So Twitter's weird, man. Twitter's really weird. I feel like Twitter, I'm not going to get into a deep conversation here, but it's just like, I feel like Twitter is like the most toxic of all the social medias.
Well, I think we got into it a little bit.
We did last episode.
But I mean, I just don't get it, man.
Yeah. We got some interaction, but like all anybody ever wanted to like talk about was like shitting on other people's music tastes, which I guess we do a lot, but
we're fucking hypocrites, y'all.
Yeah, but we're not. We're not attacking people.
No,
we're doing that.
I found that Twitter was a poor place to promote the show and to interact with people, because YouTube is actually our biggest platform, like as far as the growth, like quicker growth and stuff like that. So, and then we get a ton of interaction on Instagram, and I think we probably get our most like actual interaction on Facebook.
Yeah.
So Facebook's been great. We went from, no followers and likes to, I think we're at 65 now. People are like, fucking 65. God, I got more. Yeah, I know. We're growing.
We've been doing this for a few months.
Yeah, we've only been doing this for a couple months. So, but no, it's if you're interested, make sure you follow all of our social medias, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and YouTube as well at TSIS Podcast, or just search the Screaming Idiots Show. So
y'all, before we move on, I'll kind of touch on that too, because we've had a Twitter account for the band page forever.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I've logged into it in the last 6 years 3 times, and all 3 times were because Preston sent me a video or shared something to me from Twitter. And the only way I could view it was to log into
Twitter.
a Twitter, and I was like, well, I got the band's Twitter, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's, to me, when I first got on there, it was shortly after I learned of Gary Vee. And
oh yeah, we've talked about his books before,
right?
On the show.
And when I was in school, we learned a lot about some of his philosophies around marketing, and especially social media marketing, and a lot of it was him talking about just being part of the conversation.
Yes.
And I would get on there and I would try to be part of the conversation, and one of the things I was doing is we would get, people following us. It would be other bands that would follow us, like 6 of them a fucking day.
Yeah.
And to try to create some dialogue, I took the time to go listen to the stuff that they were asking me to listen to, and I gave them my feedback. Well, after about 3 or 4 of them that didn't like the feedback I sent, because, look, the music wasn't very good, and I didn't like trash them, but I was like, hey, I mean, this part was good, this part was good. I feel like, maybe the sound could be worked on a little bit, or, hey, maybe vocals could have been a little better, something like that. But just it would just be these minute little things that I would say, hey, maybe work on this.
Sure.
and they would lose their fucking minds. And I'm like,
Bro,
don't
you can't-
fucking send me music.
You can't ask for someone's opinion on anything and get. It's like when your old lady says, "Does this make me look fat?" And you're like, "Kinda." And she's like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like,
How dare you?
"Bitch, don't ask for my fucking opinion then."
Don't look fat in the dress.
Get on the stepper.
He fucking said, "Don't look fat in the dress." Listen, I never ask for anybody, "Hey, do I look fat in this?" I probably do. It's all good. Like, I know. Did you just turn that air conditioner off?
Thank God.
I did. Had to.
I hate it here. But yeah, it's just, bro, when it comes to music, listen, if you're looking for constructive criticism or if you want somebody's honest opinion,
Don't be fat in the dress.
Don't be fat in the dress. Did we just come up with a new tagline?
We did.
Don't be fat in the dress. Be prepared for some constructive criticism. Like when we ask you guys, our listeners, for any kind of feedback, good, bad, in the middle, on the show, on the show structure, on topics, on guests, on anything.
The set, all of it.
It's because we actually want to know, hey, what are we doing that works well? It's just like a quarterly review with your boss, right? What are we doing well? What could we be doing better? And we've had some folks say, hey, here's something that could be a little better. Here's something that's working great. Here's something that I want more of. Here's something, and that's what we want.
Don't wear flip-flops with jeans.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. I mean, we got some sandal wearing motherfuckers on this show, and then you got the one guy in Wranglers, boots and camo, and we're a very diverse group here. So
That's great.
But speaking of interaction, there's a cool story I do want to tell real quick before we get into actually some real thick music topics. We had a
Shout out Dan Skinny.
Dan Skinny.
I'm pretty sure that's what the name was on
out
YouTube.
of Texas. Yep. Skinner, Skinner. So it
I
goes
thought
by
it said
Skinny.
Skinny or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Okay.
So shout out Dan Skinny. Had a guy that just stumbled across us on YouTube because when you upload a YouTube video, you can put like tags. So like I always do like heavy metal, metalcore, deathcore, music commentary, and then like for the episode we had where we were talking about like Sleep Token and A Day to Remember, I would put like Sleep Token, A Day to Remember. For Mitchell T's episode, I put hip hop. So anything that's relevant topic wise in that episode, I will put it as a tag. So like that'll pop up in people's like quote unquote for you stuff.
Yeah.
So Dan came across one of our videos and was kind enough to first tell us he loved the show, and then give us feedback, real feedback, paragraphs of detailed feedback, and talked about. He said the set looks like shit, but I love it, and I'm like, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Thank you.
That's exactly what I want, because if you watch any of these big YouTubers, man, they have this immaculate room and these real high profile cameras that are like crystal clear. The lighting's great. They're doing all these like zooming effects and all these different angles and stuff. We are one camera with a ring light in a poorly lit studio on a sectional couch with toolboxes behind us, guitars all over the place. If you guys could see the rest of the place, you'd see all the cabinets, wall of amps, cabs, mics, guitar stands.
It's a fucking warehouse.
Yeah, it's what it is.
And a garage.
And we said, we kind of want to keep this identity, but because he said, you guys just seem like genuine ass dudes, and we're like, that's what we want to portray, and we've said that from day one. We're just guys being dudes. We're just regular ass
metalheads, man.
And we don't ever want to get too. We're never going to get too big for our britches. And I'm not saying that guys that YouTubers or whoever that have great setups and real pretty lighting and cameras and all that, because if we could afford it, if we were big enough, we'd have that shit. But we don't, and that's okay, because we want to make sure that we keep the identity of who we are, right? And we're
at the end of the day, it's about the content, not the presentation.
Yeah.
And I know, like chefs, they're like, it's all about the presentation. No, motherfucker, if your food sucks.
Don't be fat in the dress.
Don't be fat in the dress.
Don't be fat in the dress. So I want to thank Dan. And turns out Dan Skinny is a musician. He's out of a small town in Texas. He actually sent us some of his stuff. He does some instrumental music with a buddy of his that lives in Iowa. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name for the life of me. You guys might remember it, but they sent us some of their stuff, and man, they're really talented musicians, and gonna hopefully get those guys on a Zoom call for an episode of the pod, just to talk to them about their music and talk to them about what it's like coming across guys like us. Because Dan made a great point about how relatable we were and how he found the show therapeutic. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of embodies everything that we set out to become when we started doing this back in March.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize, because I think us three, we already realized it, but like years ago when we were having these conversations, like it is a form of therapy for me, and I think you both would agree. And it's like,
absolutely,
if I wasn't able to have these music conversations with a group of guys that we could banter with, but also have real conversations, like that's a big part of my life missing, man.
Absolutely. And the fact that we're able to, resonate with other metalheads out there, and Dan Skinny made a good point about how, he's in a small town in Texas and he's like the only metalhead around there.
He's like, he has no metal friends around him.
He has no metal friends around him. His closest metal friends in Iowa. So he doesn't really have the folks around him in his inner circle where he lives to have these types of conversations. And he was like, you guys are real ones for interacting with and having conversations with some random ass dude on the internet. And I'm like, dude, we're just regular ass dudes too. Anybody that wants, we're just regular ass dudes on the internet.
We really just ask our wives to not be fat in the dress, man. That's it.
Don't be fat in the dress, man. So it's super cool to hear that we are accomplishing the goal of being, you'd forget your fucking head if it wasn't screwed on your shoulders, wouldn't you?
Don't judge me.
I'm not. Just don't be fat in the dress.
Jesus.
It's
we've worn that out already.
Yeah, we have. It's super cool to hear from a total stranger that your goal is what you set out to do is happening. It's working. The formula is working. If you build it,
they will come.
They will come.
I'm gonna come.
So, shout out, Dan. I appreciate you, man. Looking forward to getting you on the show here soon. Got some exciting guests coming to round out season 4. Not gonna drop any hints. We're just gonna hit you guys with a bombshell when it happens. It's scheduled. Let's hope it happens. Shit changes. Lives happen, but we're hopeful. It's scheduled right now. Let's hope it happens. So, but anyways, okay. Enough about the sappy shit. Preston.
Yo.
You had a point that you wanted to make about Silent Planet. And it's an interesting topic because they've got a new song. Again, it's July 28th. I understand this a couple months later, but they have a new song called Antimatter out. Let's talk about that.
So I'm torn because I kind of had a hot take in regards to that song that I figured we would keep toward the end.
Yeah, let's hit it.
Okay.
Fuck it.
Okay.
We're riffing it tonight.
And I had another point. I didn't know if that needed to go first or not. But so Silent Planet released their new song Antimatter, however you want to say it.
Tomato.
First of all, I fucking love it.
Same.
I've loved Silent Planet for years. I cannot remember when I came across them, but it was probably, I'd say, 5-6 years ago.
I feel like we kind of came across them at the same time, like North Lane. Like about that
maybe.
same
Maybe.
timeline.
No, I think North Lane came later.
A little bit later, yeah. Maybe I had knew of North Lane, but so I absolutely love the song. Absolutely love the direction they went with this song. Extremely creative, out of their box. They're kind of, here we are, genre talk, but I don't know. Just Silent Planet has always felt different to me, and I think you agree. It's not your typical metalcore band, but it's not a hardcore band. It's like some ambient pieces in their music.
I really think
they're not so techno either, like Veil of Maya.
Certain amount of rage in their shit.
I think they are a revitalized version of nu metal.
I kind of see where you're coming from.
You have
there.
to explain that one a little bit for me.
It's the heavy 7-string guitars, the rap that is infused into it, the raw aggression that's in there.
His fucking screams in that song.
Very
Jesus.
It's still very metal, but you can feel the hip hop
Yeah.
influence in there with the way that their vocalists, flows the verses and certain things like that, but also in the music itself. They're using the electronic sounds like a lot of the nu metal bands did. It's just, it doesn't seem exactly like the old nu metal. It's obviously different.
Yeah, it's not Mudvayne.
I wouldn't even put Mudvayne up there as one of the biggest references for nu metal.
Yeah, nu metal is kind of like a lump of a bunch of shit. Really.
Yeah, like Korn, Deftones, Slipknot, Soulfly.
Love Korn.
System of a Down.
System of a Down, kind of, yeah.
Bro, that's nu metal.
But, yeah, so, I mean, they're coming out and their sound, like the tones of the guitar and the production and all that kind of stuff really are really similar to like the metalcore bands out there and stuff like that, versus the way the guitars sounded back in the fucking 90s with Korn going and it just sounded like a muddy wall. I still love the shit, but it didn't sound great, let's be honest. I don't know. It's for me, long story short, I guess. I would say Silent Planet is like a modern nu metal band.
Yeah, and I get what you mean.
So the cool thing about Antimatter for me was it kind of reinforced a growth for me musically, and I've talked about it before with bands like Bad Omens, where I used to like hate synth or EDM, like different kind of electronic effects in metal. I used to be kind of like, oh man, that ain't metal.
But you liked I See Stars.
I did. I'm getting there.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm getting Motionless in White does shit like that too.
Hell yeah, they do.
So I have kind of, over the past couple of years, I've really started to come around to stuff like that. And when I first heard the Antimatter song, like immediately it was all electronics, and I was like, man, this is such a cool vibe. And then it really starts
heavy guitar kicks
to get into it. I'm like, this is fucking gross.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like a reinforcement of a musical growth for me, where Tyler, you and I have talked about it on private conversations, but also on the show, where it doesn't have to be this fucking nonstop onslaught of malicious intent metal for it to be metal as fuck and for me to love it. So it kind of goes into the musical growth thing. But you had a point you want to make that you told me today might piss some people off. So.
Yeah. So, and maybe it won't land as well as I think, but once again, I love the song. It took me about 2.5-3 days to really love it. Like at first I liked it, was cool with it. Like, all right, way to go, Silent Planet. And then about day 2, day 3, I was like, fuck, I think I love this song.
Yeah.
So I don't have any problems with the song whatsoever. But I was scrolling through on Twitter on day 2 or day 3, maybe after it released, and I see like a bunch of big time bands and of course music fans posting about this song and talking about it. I think it was somebody in regards to Dayseeker, but then also fans and everything else. And the way they acted, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the way I feel. The way they acted was, oh my God, they jumped way out of the box. They're developing this whole new realm.
What?
I swear to God. And I'm talking like tweet after tweet after tweet.
They sound like Avenged Sevenfold fans.
What? No, I'm serious. Like they were like, holy shit, track of the year.
They're so innovative.
Yeah, track of the year. These guys are so innovative. I can't believe they pushed
These
the envelope
motherfuckers developed
this way.
sliced bread.
Track of the year?
Something
Bro, that's
like
a good
that.
song,
I seen
but that
something.
ain't track of the year.
But and I got to thinking, I'm like,
Polaris would like a word.
even though I love this track, like my hot take is that they didn't push the envelope any more than a band like North Lane, or name some other bands that have done some electronics in their shit. Bad Omens.
Sleep Token.
Which maybe we would have expected it out of Bad Omens a little bit more than we would have Silent
Make Them
Planet,
Suffer.
But
using like the guitar and shit in there.
Yeah, but maybe not as much as like musically. I guess the amount of it in this song.
I'm trying to think of some other bands that kind of like. Now I will say the Silent Planet song surprised me, but it didn't make me go, "Oh my god, they just invented a new genre."
Yeah, and
like,
that's what when I was scrolling through Twitter, like this is not that exact statement, but I was seeing shit like that, and I'm like, dude, I love the song, but
Oh man,
I don't see it.
Do you think that's a standards thing? Do you think that some metal fans, like over the past couple of years, have just created such low standards or low expectations that something like that's like mind-boggling to them?
I can't wrap my head around. I fully understand it was different, and it was different for Silent Planet.
It is different.
100% agree, but I can't wrap my head around it was this. Oh my God, they broke through fucking.
I don't think they did anything so different from what's going on in the scene right now, period.
Yeah.
I think it is more of the same of what we've been hearing from some of these other bands. I mean, you have, like Bad Omens was doing shit similar.
They did
to,
some synthy ass shit on that last record.
Synth and heavy stuff mixed in together.
Motionless has done it on the last 2 records.
Right, so I don't think Silent Planet done anything
Sound like a fart.
so far out there that you can say, oh, they done this grand new thing, and they're reshaping the scene. Look, the only thing, and I mentioned this to you when we was heading to play golf the other day. I don't think it's any different than what's going on in the scene right now. I just think they done it better.
Yeah,
they did. They did it very fucking well.
Yeah, maybe
I love that track.
Maybe it just stood out more to people. I'm not gonna run people into the dirt for thinking that it's super innovative or anything. But maybe it's just.
Of course, it's just our opinion too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Maybe it's just that it's that high quality of a song that
it landed.
It buttered that landing for a lot of people on the kind of synth electronic combo with the metalcore roots. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see.
It just could have been that they finally landed the plane for some people.
Yep.
Yeah, so I also mentioned to Preston in that same conversation that I really like the song. I don't like it for them. Because
I disagree.
Because that's not the Silent Planet
that you know and love.
That I know and love. Yeah. Now, we've had this conversation about bands changing their style and things like that. Do I disagree with the direction they're heading? No. It's a bomb ass fucking song. I can't fucking disagree with, hey bro.
If you didn't know,
this isn't the same thing that you put out before, but like it's still amazing, but fuck you for changing.
So like if you didn't know that it was Silent Planet, you might have a better appreciation for it. Maybe.
I think I have a pretty high appreciation for it, even still. The thing about it is just that I think not that they sold out, but they seen this trend of what was popular in the scene, and they were like, here, hold my beer.
We can do it better.
We can do it better, and it's going to catapult us forward, which, hey,
it's probably
as
going
businessmen,
it's
like,
a trap,
that's...
It's a fucking trap.
That was a good fucking move. You got Twitter and social media blowing up saying that you are the fucking greatest thing since fucking peanut butter and jelly, bro. Oh. And that is, PB&J, baby.
That's what I had for lunch today.
Hey, our fucking group chat was blowing up about some PB&J the other day, bro.
You got me on that shit.
Put the jelly on ladies?
As long as they ain't fat in the dress.
So the other thing that
I don't want to see jelly in the dress, bro.
Well, so's your wife, Mitchell. We ain't supposed to have livestock. She married a sea
Speaking of that, rest in peace, Donnie Baker.
R.I.P.
If y'all know the comedian Donnie Baker, rest in peace,
R.I.P.
man.
Donnie Baker.
So as you were talking just now, I got to thinking, and I know that you're not
I have
upset.
that effect on people.
I know that you're not upset with the song, but I feel like you're kind of, damn, I like it, but I wanted Silent fucking Planet. So, and I
Not
think
EDM Planet.
I'm going to shut up for a second. Let you finish.
I think I maybe know why.
Why?
Because the last album flopped to us.
Oh, man.
So there's been that gap, and you've just been waiting
It was
for Silent
disappointing
Planet.
to me.
Yep.
I got to pull up their discography real quick.
You just gave me a fan-fucking-tastic
Sweet.
topic.
Sweet.
This is what we do when we riff it, boys and girls.
Hey, half of this is due to
All right.
High West Bourbon. So shout out
So
High
And
look,
West.
Heaven's Door.
The first album I had, the earliest album I have on here is The Night God Slept. And I really enjoyed that. But what really got me into them was Everything Was Sound.
Mm-hmm.
And the song Panic Room.
Yep.
God, that fucking
Yep.
song.
Panic Room's incredible.
Oh,
Yes.
the
Yep.
fucking aggression and just,
Bro, that was 2016.
dude, I could fucking
Bro, I was in
literally,
college.
I could literally murder people to that. FBI's listening. You should probably keep an eye on me when that song's on. But then the next album,
When the End Began, it's good.
was really good as well. But this
Iridescent.
Iridescent was like, eh.
I have one song
Garbage.
downloaded off the album. I don't know that it was garbage. It just, for me,
didn't
and I
land.
think it didn't land. Yeah.
Didn't land with us.
Yep.
You could tell they were changing up their sound, and that's you know there is something to be said there where they started changing up their sound, maybe trying to develop with the scene or whatever it was. That didn't land, and then they were like, okay, maybe we recognize that it didn't land as well as we wanted it to. Let's kind of dial it in a little bit more and start fresh. And then they come out with this song,
Antimatter.
and it's obviously
It's a jam,
doing what they
dude.
want it to do.
It's a
It's a
jam.
jam. It's a great song,
It is heavy. in
but
my
I want a
rotation
little
right now.
bit more of OG Silent
Yeah.
Planet because it does not like I can tell it's them, but it doesn't feel like them.
And to me, it kind of feels like that song, even though it is very different for them. But it, for some reason, the song feels short, and I don't know the length of it. It also feels like it's kind of a preview song.
We talk about that. We've talked about that for years. It's like My Understandings
Yeah.
of Mice and Men off
Yeah,
of The Flood.
yeah.
That's like a build-up song almost.
And I don't think this is that short of a song, but like musically, because they don't go crazy in it. It's very structured. It's very, you kind of have an idea of what's coming. It feels like, here's some shit for you. You're going to love it, but we're going to stop it right here at this point.
I have a fantastic topic that is
Anything
so
else
relatable
to add
this,
about
but I'll
Silent
let you
Planet or that
guys
song?
finish this conversation.
I don't have much else to add about Silent Planet. I'm glad we brought it up, and I'm glad that they're getting the recognition. When I seen them live years ago with Currents, they held their fucking own against Currents.
That's impressive.
And
Oh, we get to see them again in a couple
Oh,
months. Let's
dude.
fucking go.
that show was fucking wild. Scully's is where it was.
Oh, really?
And if you've been there, it's a pretty decent sized venue, and it was packed nuts to butts in that motherfucker.
That's awesome.
And I mean, the whole fucking place was bouncing when Silent Planet.
You know
was
what? And
going,
I think
when
about
Currents
it,
was
and I
going.
understand that Currents, this will take us down a rabbit hole that frankly, I don't want to go down right now. But
Then what? Don't fucking talk
no,
about
really
it.
quick. We talk Currents. We all love Currents.
Facts.
They have some ambient, atmospheric pieces in their
They
music.
do.
That is Silent Planet and Currents together. That I
That's
can
a
see
great
why
bill.
that's a
It,
hell
it
of
was
a
a
fucking
it was
show.
a fantastic bill. The only
be a
thing
great
I
bill.
hated was that Greyhaven was on that bill too,
And you didn't get.
and I didn't. We
Ugh.
showed up a little too late.
That's weird.
Oh,
Not
would
really.
It would have
Greyhaven
slapped,
brings
bro.
a shit ton of energy. That'd be a great way to open
Bro.
a show.
If you think of the
Greyhaven
way
fucking
Greyhaven,
rages,
Dude,
man.
they're insane
They
live, bro.
rage.
the vocalist for
He's
Greyhaven
nuts, bro.
really matches up pretty well
Yep.
with the vocalist
Yep.
for
Silent
Silent
Planet.
Planet.
Yep.
I think
Dude,
they have a
Talking
similar
about great
feel.
bill. Bro, keep Boundaries and Moths on the same bill forever. Like, you guys are not allowed to tour without each other ever again. So, You get your you got all
Yeah,
your
shout
points
out Silent Planet, man. That's one
it's
hell
a
of a
killer
track.
song, man.
I'm not
Killer track.
here to talk shit about y'all. I just
Fuck
didn't
no.
agree with what the sentiment that was out there. Like, I get that it was a different track, but it didn't change the fucking world. Like, and I love the track.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, world hunger still exists.
Oh,
so
shit.
It does. It do be existing. There are third world countries out there. Y'all ready for? I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
You brought up a great point that made me think of something. What album from a band you love flopped the most and disappointed you the most? Like an album that you were so juiced up for because it was new music from your favorite, one of your favorite bands, and it just absolutely flopped and crushed your soul. If you need to take some time to look, I know mine or one of mine, and I can go ahead and run through that.
Go ahead. I just need to look up
Preston,
the album
ahead?
title.
Yeah, go ahead. I have a couple.
All right,
in
so
mind.
the one that when this topic came to my mind just 5 minutes ago, the band that came to mind immediately, an album that came to mind immediately, was a band that literally shaped me musically. When I think of my Mount Rushmore of metal bands that literally shaped my music, one of those bands that will always be on it is Bullet for My Valentine. And they had dropped Venom in 2015, and it felt like they were almost leaning kind of hardcore with some of the stuff that they were doing, but it was super heavy, it was super dark, it was super aggressive. The production,
it was super clear. I remember.
yeah, the production was really good. It was a gnarly ass album, and that followed up the Temper, which was incredible. So they had never had a miss before Venom. And then in 2018, they dropped Gravity, the one with the butterfly wings on it. And I was so disappointed. It absolutely fell as hard on its face as an album could possibly fall on its face for me. They really went with the shift in sound, similar to what All That Remains did with what the fuck's that one album?
I mean, you
am
just
I giving your shit away? Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's one of them. I have a couple in mind.
It was they did this big shift in sound, and they went the opposite direction of what they had done since 2005, and it really disappointed me. And you almost feel like a sadness when one of your favorite bands of all time does something like that. You're so let down. You're so and that one for me was the first one that came to mind.
Well, and do you remember at the time? I do not, but do you remember if we were like heavily anticipating that release?
Do you remember how hardcore we were into Venom?
Yeah, we both sat in your truck for hours on end. And
I bought that record,
it.
like the physical copy of that CD, because I wanted it so bad.
Yep.
And yeah, we were in my truck over and over listening to that record. So it was like you were on this huge high from Venom, and then they kind of pretty quickly, just a couple of years later, announced a new one. And I thought that Venom had great longevity. I think it still does. I still listen to some songs off that record. I don't remember being as hyped for that as I was for Venom, but I do remember the absolute letdown that I felt when it came out. Mm-hmm. Now, they redeemed themselves about half with the newest one, but it's still not old Bullet. And again, changing your sound, growing, all that stuff, I get it. But at least with the new record, they went back to metalcore.
Yeah, yeah.
They went back to being a heavy band again. So that was one of mine. I'm sure I can come up with another one.
That's what I'm thinking. I have one off the top of my head.
Go ahead.
So I've talked about on this show, there's a certain few bands that mean a ton to me. And one of them that I've mentioned as time has went on is All That Remains. Mm-hmm. They were my Metallica after I got out of Metallica. Mm-hmm. For some reason, something the way Ollie did his thing, and just the band as a whole.
Well, he was pretty dope.
Yeah, he's the real deal. So,
Yeah, he was.
Of course, you have the Fall of Ideals and For We Are Many Overcome that me and Kyler both loved. And then you have For We Are Many that we absolutely loved as well. And then in 2012, so that would have been our junior year of high school.
Well,
Yep.
we started.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Junior, senior year.
Yep.
They dropped A War You Cannot Win, and it just flopped, man. For me, at least.
That was like a half flop for me because they had a couple that were decent.
Yeah,
It was
there's
the
a couple
album,
on here.
It
but
was the album after that for me.
Yeah, but dude,
Or no,
I was so used to every
no.
song on An All That Remains album being bad as hell.
Yeah, what's the white cream colored album with the?
So, well, The Order of Things was after.
It was okay.
And The Order of Things
It was
have some
good.
jams on it.
It was good.
And then that was like the dagger madness.
Oh God,
That album was fucking horrible,
that was
dude.
fucking
It
terrible.
was the
That
dagger.
was almost that dude. Is that their newest album?
No.
There's
You have
another
Victim of the New
one?
Disease.
That's right. Well, that one's not any good either.
Nope.
Yeah, that
So
was.
yeah, that's one I thought of off the top of my head. I have a couple that are like here, but I can't think of exactly what they are.
I mean, I
so.
can think of like disappointing albums, but they have extenuating circumstances. So
Yeah.
you're gonna fight me on this, but Restoring Force.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was going to be different because Austin Carlisle wasn't with him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I know this isn't going to be what it has been because Carlisle isn't there anymore. So I didn't have huge expectations for it, but it was still not a great album for me.
Yeah.
And then like Kyle Pavone from We Came as Romans, when he passed, like I'm like, okay, I know it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm kind of excluding stuff like that where a member dies, a member moves on. It's the same core band, and they come out with something that just completely just crushes your fucking spirit.
I was actually listening to Of Mice and Men, their first album today.
It's incredible. It's the
It
self-titled.
makes me so happy.
Absolutely incredible. 7,000 miles for what, bro?
Second and Sebring.
Second and Sebring. YDG.
That song.
Forget about it.
Second
Forget
and
about it.
Sebring is one of the
Oh,
most
The Ballad
fantastic
of
fucking
Tommy
songs ever.
Tommy Clayton. Is that what it's called? Ballad of Tommy Clayton?
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah, forget about it. That album's a no skip.
I have 2 more albums. Excuse me. Yeah.
Let's hear it.
So, I've trashed them on this show.
Avenged Sevenfold.
No.
Oh. Okay.
I prevail.
You've
Amity Affliction.
Oh God, yeah, that's true.
So
Oh, bro, that's a
there
great
was a
one.
time and place.
They had
where
3 albums
I
that were
loved Amity.
yeah.
So of course, Let the Ocean Take Me. That album, absolutely loved.
Chasing
This
Ghosts.
Could Be Heartbreak. After that album, absolutely loved. Then they dropped Misery.
Chasing Ghosts was the first in those 3 albums, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yep,
You
that was
had
a good-
Youngbloods
Okay.
before
Yep.
that, but I don't know that we had got into that.
Yeah,
too
Chasing
much.
Ghosts was really good.
But they had dropped Misery, and it just flopped. The songs weren't as good.
Is there like 12 songs on that record?
Misery's got 12 songs, yep.
Yeah, and every one of them sounded the same.
And then that's when they went to the point where every one of them sounded the same. And then they dropped this newest album, and it's just as fucking bad, and they tried to get heavier.
Oh, bro, hey, Parkway.
I was getting ready. That's
Oh, my
other
bad.
one.
My bad.
Parkway.
Parkway dropped Reverence.
I think it was
Is that what it's
Reverence.
called? It was right at the album after Ire.
Yeah, it was Reverence. 2018.
Y'all know how I feel about them.
Yeah, I know how you feel about them. But that one was a big letdown, but it still wasn't as bad as the newest one.
No? I haven't got a ton into the newest one, so maybe I need to give it a fair shot, but
Winston tried his hand at singing.
oh shit.
I do think
Never
I gave
mind.
them. I do think
Come
I
on,
gave them
Winston.
a little unfair level of hatred
Not as unfair as
When
my level of
I,
hatred for Sleep Token.
when I.
We've already covered it. We're not going back.
But
Dan's sitting there going to be watching this episode,
Yeah.
laughing his ass
Yeah,
off.
he is. He knows what we're talking about.
But no, I shit on Parkway Drive maybe a little too hard. They're not that bad. It's just I've heard about them from so many people, and so many people talked them up like they were so amazing. And I listened to it. I was like, this is not fucking amazing. There's so much better shit out there. But they're not
it's
that
one of those-
bad.
it's
But
one of those-
continue with
you
your
had to
thing.
be
You just
there.
had to be there. Point.
Yep.
Yeah.
When it was fresh. You had to be there.
hindsight, it's like,
You do that a lot. You come into a lot of bands kind of late.
You do.
Well, that's
bro.
because I didn't.
You weren't a metalcore guy.
I wasn't a
before,
metalcore guy before. Like I had been exposed to certain things. Like especially when I first started jamming with Scotty. I've mentioned on the show multiple times. Like he was showing me Bullet. He was showing me Kill Switch. He was showing me All That Remains. Those kind of things, and I really enjoyed them. But it wasn't stuff that I really enjoyed listening to on a regular basis. Back then, like my favorite band was Smile Empty Soul. Like I was listening to rock, hard rock, alternative rock.
I
That
like
was
Smile
the
Empty
shit
Soul,
that
bro.
that was the shit that I was listening to on the regular. The metalcore and metal and hardcore and stuff like that was shit that was just kind of sprinkled in, you know, maybe like once a week I'd listen to something a little extra heavy or something.
So, Tyler, can you think of an album from a band that you
Oh,
love?
the first one I came up with was Thrice.
I knew it.
Look,
I feel like you've talked about this a little bit. Very, very little.
Was it the last album or the album before that flopped for you?
the last album.
Yeah.
So, Horizons / East.
Yep.
They dropped Scavengers and Robot Soft Exorcism, and both songs were good, but they didn't blow me away. And so I had concerns even just off of those. I'm like, if those are your singles, I'm a little worried about the rest of the album.
Those singles set the tone for the record.
Right.
Always.
It's like, because you know they're dropping some of their best off the album.
At least one of their best.
Right. And then, you know, the rest of the album drops, and there's really only 3 songs on the album I like, and it's Scavengers, Robot Soft Exorcism, and Still Life,
my
baby.
God.
Still Life was a fucking jam. But, like, the 3 songs are not enough to say that it's a good album.
Yeah.
And what disappointed me so deeply about it is prior to that album, there was not a single Thrice song
Yeah.
I did not love. I'm
Yep.
talking
Yeah.
love. I
That's gotta be
loved
tough.
everything that they had released prior. They would drop these little singles. So after, what was that album? To Be Everywhere Is to Be Nowhere. After that album, they started dropping these like random little like singles and, you know, a couple singles here and there in between releases, and even those are fucking amazing. And then they dropped this, and I'm like, this is not so great. But then they dropped a couple singles kind of along the same lines
After.
of this, and all of those are bangers.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why is this album just not hitting? And musically, it's all very sound. It's very creative. It's very, you know, music theory driven.
I was gonna say
Like,
it sounded like they jumped out of a little bit of their own box on that record.
they did, and that's okay, man. You got like fucking 8 banger ass albums. You're allowed to have one that
Right.
you just do what you want on. Like you're allowed to, but like it just didn't. I didn't love it.
And we were heavily anticipating that album.
I was
Yeah.
so excited, so fucking excited, because the 2 releases prior to that, just I loved them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's always tough. That would be like if Polaris dropped a bad song or something. That's what I feel like, you know, what Tyler felt with Thrice. I mean, I feel like
That's
Polaris
exactly
is
what
our
it was.
Thrice, you know.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Imagine Polaris dropping an album, you know, like a 10-song album where only
Like
3
this
songs
album
were
right
good.
now. This album right now that we're super fucking stoked for, and we've heard 2 of the songs. We haven't talked about Nightmare.
Haven't talked about Nightmare yet.
We've heard 2 of them, and then the rest of the album just.
Bro,
It would kill me inside.
I would die
It
a little
would
bit
kill me
inside.
inside.
I would die a lot.
I
of
would
it
rather
inside.
get kicked in the nuts.
Yeah.
repeatedly.
Yeah.
I'd rather be fat in the dress.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's kind of the good point. It's like, hey, don't be fat in the dress, or you're gonna disappoint. So,
Well, and that's a
and
point that.
I feel like every metalhead out there probably can think of a band that has an album like that. That, you know, the band meant so much to them, and then they had one that dropped, and they're like, ugh.
Yep.
Man, I was so excited for this.
Dayseeker.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Sleep Talk is fucking incredible, dude.
Yeah.
That
Well,
album
the newest
was
album,
amazing.
they do have one song that I like on it.
Without Me, Crying While You're Dancing, Neon Grave,
No.
Dream State.
Nope.
Those are all the
got the
ones.
girl
I will
on it.
say
It's got
the
the girl on
songs.
it.
It's got the girl on
The
it.
girl does vocals on it.
Quicksand.
No.
I will say some of
I don't
those
know.
songs got stuck
Afterglow?
in my head, so they were catchy enough to.
Starving to be Empty.
That's on Sleep Talk.
Oh, that's why I like it then.
Yeah.
I haven't even fucking listened to anything off the new record then. Because you told me it was shit, so I didn't even give it.
I have a couple downloaded that are good, but I played them 3 times and got sick of them.
Yeah.
Speaking of shit, how about that of Mice and Men song?
Oh God.
I don't think it's shit.
Well, I think someone mentioned, Kyler, I think it was you that mentioned it. It was maybe on the show or in private conversation where you had seen a tweet or something.
Oh, that they were
Where-
coming with some new shit.
And they said something like, if you liked Restoring Force.
No, that's what I had
Yes.
seen. I seen that on
Yeah.
You've
Twitter.
seen it.
No, I
Okay.
sent it in the chat, and I said, "Oh, you guys are gonna love this."
Yeah, no, Aaron Polly, I believe is his name. He's in Jamie's Elsewhere, the other band that I just sent last week.
Okay.
that's a
He
lame-ass
had posted
band name.
on Twitter if you something along the lines of if you guys liked Restoring Force, you're going to absolutely love this album.
So I can see, based on the sound and the feel
This
of this.
is a good time for me to take a piss because I just don't give a shit.
I love that you were so close to my face.
You're welcome.
Like I can see where he got that from because the sound
It's
and
got a
the
little bit of
feel.
that vibe. Yeah.
It feels a little bit like that Restoring Force.
Mm-hmm.
But I really liked Restoring Force. I thought that the
Mm-hmm.
music was creative still. I thought that the riffage was still
Each
there.
song was different from each other
Each song
enough.
was different enough.
Yep.
There was still a great vocal performance in it, regardless. I know, Kyler doesn't like that Austin Carlisle wasn't in there, but I still think they had a really good vocal performance throughout that album. That's the album that helped teach me to scream. I felt the screams were really good. The clean vocals were really good. But this new song is just not on that level.
Yeah, I feel like you had said. I feel it's similar, and I didn't think it was a bad song when I listened to it. But I guess the biggest, the way I can, I guess the best way to describe this song is I literally sat in my seat of my car like this, and I was like, "Yeah, sounds like last
Yeah.
couple albums."
It's a song.
Like, and that's like, that's kind of me calling them out. Like, damn,
This is, in
man,
fact, a song.
again.
And I think so. Something I thought of a little bit ago as we were discussing, albums that disappointed, is I think at a certain level, bands tend to have a really good first couple of albums, first few albums are really good, and then they kind of die off, and I think that's really common, to be honest. And I think what it is, when you're a struggling musician, struggling to get started, and that passion is so present, because if it wasn't present, you wouldn't be fucking going through the struggles that you go through to get started as a band and start touring and living in a fucking van, sleeping in a van, like all this kind of shit that you deal with as a musician. I haven't experienced it, but we all know what they go through. Once you kind of, I guess, quote unquote, make it, I feel like a lot of that pain goes away, and a lot of that
You're just writing songs.
and you're trying to write songs, and that pain is the shit that you used to write about that used to have meaning. You're not experiencing that shit anymore, so it's really hard to write these songs almost in a vacuum, right? And I think one great I'm going to bring it to Korn. So our old boss Todd talked about Korn a lot. He was a huge fan, and he was telling us about, or at least telling me about. There's a particular song, and he was telling me about the struggles that what's the singer's name? Jonathan Davis. That's right. Yep. Some of the struggles that he was going through in life, with dealing with the band, alcoholism, and all this different shit. And in one of his songs, he talks about how hard it is to get over these things when every night people are cheering on your pain. And that's fucking real. Like, a lot of the songs, and it kind of goes back to the topic we had where there's not enough positivity in metal. Well, really, we're all looking for this certain style of writing where it's kind of helping us get through our mental turmoil.
Yeah, I mean, help me get through my bullshit, man.
But in asking that of artists, you're asking these artists to live their turmoil night after night after night in front of thousands of people that are cheering on their pain. And when some of that pain is gone, what do you have left to write about?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Lyrically, awesome. I would agree. Musically, I don't. Because
I would say even musically though. Go ahead though.
Do you gotta be in pain and depressed to write an original riff?
I think the inspiration has to be there, and I think a lot of people source their inspiration from the pain, at least in metal, because it's so aggressive, because, you know, just the feel and the emotional appeal of it is often based around pain, anger, you know, all these negative feelings. And so when a lot of those negative feelings disappear, what inspiration do you now have to write with?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Of Mice and Men, last few albums, like, I know you don't like Restoring Force that much, but even there, musically, it was still good. It's still, like, when I listen to Restoring Force, I still hear of Mice and Men from the first couple of albums.
Okay.
Musically, the riffage is there, you know, just the way the songs are put together is still there. After that, like the few albums after that, it's just like musically it's just blah. It's like there's no emotion to it.
Yeah, like you've heard it all before.
You can tell it's like they lack inspiration to write the way they did before.
What you're saying is somebody grandma need to die.
Damn. Is that
what you're saying?
So, maybe not, but you know, if that's like what it takes.
From fucking Rick and Morty. God damn. Thanks, Noob.
Fucking love Noob.
He'll leave it to me to take us down a fucking adult cartoon rabbit hole.
No, I think that's a really good point that you make, and I don't think I've put that into perspective before.
Put it out into the ether.
Because think about it. I mean, bringing it back to Jonathan Davis, he was dealing with a lot of tough shit. And, you know, I've listened to a few brief sections of interviews where he's talking about, you know, being on tour, but you have kids at home, you have, you know, wife at home, family at home, and there's serious issues going on in that world. And then you're on the road dealing. You can't address that. You're on the road dealing with your own substance abuse, mental trauma, all this shit. And how do you get over that stuff when every night people are asking you to relive it? And then when you're trying to get over that stuff and you finally do, and now you don't have that old inspiration you once had to write the music that you once did, how do you continue writing music that your audience wants to hear?
Yeah. I think that, and it kind of goes back to what we've always said about how metal, in our opinion, requires more skill, talent, whatever you want to call it, to create this type of music. And inspiration, you can tie into that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, anybody can talk about my truck broke down, my girlfriend left me, and my dog died, or
With 3 chords.
yeah, or I'm riding through the hood doing drive-bys or whatever. Anybody can do that. You know, to have the balls to write about your real life shit that you've gone through or going through, whatever. Man, that takes some testicular fortitude.
Yeah, and I think of it as a musician myself. I play guitar every day. Well, try to. Not always is that the case, but really, really try to. And there's definitely other days that I'm way more inspired than this day. And I'm trying to put that into perspective in a situation like that where it's how, when you've gotten to a certain level and you do this thing every night and people are getting high off you spewing out your pain, like, where do you continually find inspiration? Like, what continually makes your brain tick and want to go?
Yeah, God, I wish Sean was sitting here right now.
Yeah, that'd be a great question.
Be a
for
great
him.
guy to
Yep.
ask that
Yep.
question. Because Tyler, you've talked about it on the show before. There's times where Sean has kind of like ran out of juice, right?
Mhm.
Inspiration wise, when it comes to writing lyrics. Man, you can only talk about the same shit so many times. And Sean's never going to sit down and write the same song over and over again.
He's too
Ever.
picky.
Huh?
He's too picky.
It's not even that he's too picky.
Yeah.
He's just too good of a songwriter.
Oh,
To,
he's definitely too picky.
well, I mean, I'm sure he is, but
He's
also,
very serious about it. and
he's
I know,
also
like,
damn good at it, and he's not just going to sit there and be like, yeah, we'll do this again and just rework it. You know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of bands just kind of run their course. The listeners out there will think I'm fucking nuts, and that's fine, but I think of Mice and Men have ran their course.
I would agree with that.
I think they're done.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
they're done, or they need to be done, or they need to split up and they, go do their own thing somewhere else with other guys because, you
And
can
if
get
they're
around.
having fun together
Dude,
as a
that's
band,
great.
then
That's
great.
all that matters.
Yeah, yeah,
But for me, they've ran their course with me.
yeah.
I just and so I didn't like Restoring Force, but I did like is it Earth and Sky? Is that what it's called?
Earth and Sky's got a couple good
I
ones.
did like that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, it does have a few
I like that
bangers.
one better than I did Restoring Force because I think dude finally found because I disagree with you wholeheartedly that Restoring Force was good vocally. I think Earth and Sky was better vocally because I think he had found his way of, hey, it's just me now. I know what I'm doing now. I know where I want to be. And he did it to a much better level. I think you liked Restoring Force specifically because it was more riffed. It was, because you loving hardcore, it doesn't have to sound pristine and defined and perfect to sound good to you. Whereas me, who doesn't really like hardcore that much, I want you to know where the fuck you want to be vocally. Don't come out there sounding like you're just kind of testing the waters and seeing if this works or not. Know where you want to be. And I thought that Earth and Sky, that they did that much better than Restoring Force. But then it was like that was kind of the pinnacle of this lineup for me. It was like, okay, well, this is what they are. I mean, this is what they are, and people still love them. They're still a very popular band. Like when they were announcing this new song, there were so many people that were juiced up about it. I got into an argument with a dude. Got into a dude. What? got into.
Did he look fat in the draft?
Call me Tyler Childers.
There's the comedic relief, people.
Motherfucker-
You might have waited a little bit.
Motherfucker
but
went from
okay.
Lady May to probably gay. But anyways, so I got into an argument with a dude on Twitter that was like, "Oh, that's a fucking." His name's fucking Metalcore Clown Boy. So
Hey, he's cool. He's got some cool ass tweets.
He's got some shit takes though.
We all do.
Right, but he's kind of a dick about it if you don't agree with his point. So
I guess I haven't noticed that.
yeah, well, but anyways, so he's Canadian. I can't expect much. I'm kidding. But he was like, "Oh, I said something about. Unfortunately, I don't feel that they've been the same since Carlisle left the band." He was like, "L, that's a bad take." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's a take. It doesn't mean it's a bad take."
Yeah.
But there were so many people that were so juiced up about it. I'm like, that's fine, but if you almost have to view them as two different bands, like with Carlisle, after Carlisle, because it was completely different music. Now, you said musically that Restoring Force was as close to Self-Titled and The Flood as anything beyond that, and I would agree, but that was kind of like a transition album.
It was.
Right.
It was.
So,
See, I would say
it's almost like two different bands.
It's not a bad take at all, and if you're really listening to the music and the song, and not just kind of fanboying over the band itself, you'll realize that new song they put out, they didn't do fucking anything spectacular.
Well, and that's
nothing
where,
about that song was spectacular. I literally heard it and I was like, well, yeah, that's a song.
I've heard that song before.
well, and that's where I it kind of hit me where we think about Of Mice and Men and how much they mean to all of us, particularly your situation, because of it got you into, whatever else.
So Restoring Force to me was the album that made me a metalcore fan.
Yeah.
And it was the song Another You
Yeah.
that I heard. Sean actually sent it to me, and I heard it and I was like, it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yep.
And through that song, I was able to gain appreciation for other songs of theirs. And I started listening through that album and I was like, fuck, I love this shit. And that's when I started diving into similar artists. That's when I started, kind of going down a rabbit hole there, going into some of their older stuff. And when I got hooked up with you guys really shortly after, it was probably 6 months after I really discovered that album that I started hanging out with you guys. And that's when I really started to get into their older stuff, because you guys were really into it. And then you guys really started showing me other stuff that was very similar to it. But that album to me is what got me into metalcore. That song or that album is what taught me screams at a time when I really didn't listen to a lot of music that had a lot of screams in it, for me to really get much context around how the fuck do I do this thing that I now have to do because Sean's needing me to do it.
And that's where I think the gist of this conversation is, at the end of the day, it comes down to us, they don't write as good of songs anymore.
They don't.
They don't.
The songs aren't
The
good.
songs on that album are fucking awesome. The songs on the previous album are song after song after song after
We
song,
also
man.
have, and I've said it before, we have very high expectations.
We do. I mean, we're picky. We're picky.
Yeah, we have so to Johnny Metalhead out there that doesn't,
He probably loves it.
Good for him, man.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. There's nothing wrong with it, but
Hell no.
to a lot of people that maybe don't dissect music on a super high level, that aren't as picky, or that causes them to not be as picky. Yeah, if you can bob your head to it and vibe along with it, yeah, you probably really like it, and that's fine. But if I've heard the same fucking basic, generalization of the song more than once, it's not going to suck me in. Like that we talked about, that's why I loved that Antimatter song so much, because it was just different for them.
Different.
It was like, man, yep,
Yep. But it
that's
had
cool.
elements of what
I
you know
love.
and love.
Yep.
I know you haven't heard. Have you listened to the song yet?
Which one?
The Of Mice and Men song?
Yes.
You did listen
Oh,
to
you
it?
ended up listening to it?
Unfortunately.
I know
It
you
wasn't
ended up-
bad.
No, it's not bad. No.
It's
no.
not.
It's just
It's not
that
a
it's
terrible
good.
song.
Dude, none of their stuff is bad.
Yeah.
It's just okay.
Yes.
And
I
that's
don't
that's
want
the
to
problem.
My
listen
heart
to
rate
average
doesn't raise.
music.
That's
My
the
heart rate-
I do
problem.
not. I'm backing away from the
I
mic
love
because I'm
that.
getting loud.
I
I
love
don't
that.
want to fucking listen to average music,
I
bro.
love that. Fuck
There are
yes.
so many average ass bands out there, and I'm sorry, I don't want to fucking listen to it. You can call me a metal elitist, you can call me a gatekeeper, whatever you want. I don't give a shit. I don't want to fucking listen to Beartooth. I don't want to listen to I Prevail or fucking. I'm sorry, I'm not saying it's bad music. I just don't want to listen to the same fucking song over and over and over again. And that's what I feel like so many of these popular bands do. And I get heated about it because people shit on me because you're a fucking gatekeeper metal. No, I just dissect music on a higher level because that's what I do. I've done my whole fucking life. And I appreciate more high level, intricate, creative, and original music.
I guess somebody that may be listening could come back at you with the last As I Lay Dying song.
The last As I Lay
Or
Dying song.
album. 70% of the songs sounded the exact same. And that's why I could not get... I liked the album, but it wasn't this 10 out of 10 album for me.
Well, I can tell you right now, it's not Shadows Our Security. It's not An Ocean Between
pull
yeah.
Us.
this up
But
so
it was
I
a
have
great... It was a
context.
good album. I don't know if I'd say great. It was a pretty damn good album.
I would say that 70% of it sounded like As I Lay Dying.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like
Yeah.
Ooh,
the same
this
exact
is-
song.
radio core over and
Yeah,
over.
no,
again.
and
good
I'm not
one.
saying that. Yeah.
This is a good one.
But I'm just thinking of what people may say or think.
So
You
no,
know?
that's fine. I'm all
Yeah.
for a counter argument. That's great. But As I Lay Dying has always been this,
Your perfect metalcore band.
this perfect. Like when I think of the term metalcore, that's what I
It's
think
that.
of. It's
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah.
So, yes, that album, and of course that's the first album since Tim was out of prison and all
Yep.
that. So, for them to put together that solid of a record while sticking to their formula,
I'm sure he had a lot of pain and prison to write about. So
Shaped by Fire, bro.
Yep.
Shaped by Fire.
My Own Grave.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's the lyrics. That's the thing. I will say, I think lyrically, Shaped by Fire is probably their best record. Lyrically.
I'd have to go back.
You'd
and
have to
listen.
really go
Yep.
back and
Yep.
listen to it. But yeah, I mean, there are some Gatekeeper. There are some incredible songs on that record that are
Well,
like,
and I think we're about to move into another piece, but we talked about the Currents record, and I think I'm coming to a little bit of a realization. Currents record's really good, the most recent one.
yeah,
But I kind of compare it to that last As I Lay Dying song where I listened to the record for a week.
here's the formula.
And I'm
stick
like,
to it. Sure, I would. That's fine. Yeah.
You
Here's
know?
the formula. Stick to it. New material.
Yep.
I think the difference might be that a band like Currents, a band like, and I don't have a ton of context around As I Lay Dying. When I went back through their discography, I stopped at Shadows Our Security, which was oh Lord Jesus.
That was only like 2 albums in,
So,
homie.
look, it wasn't that long of a day on the road, so I didn't get to make it all the way through.
Oh my god, An Ocean Between
And
Us.
I got 4 albums to go, and I never went back to it, so I'm going to have to go
album has
back and
Paralyzer.
continue my journey through their discography. But, some of those bands, I think we do talk a little bit of
High
shit,
Waters also.
sometimes unfairly about bands
Oh,
that
we
it's
do.
like the
We've done
same
it.
song
Yeah.
over and over, but for some bands, that's kind of what we ask for, because with Currents, we've talked about it where, like, if I listen to a Currents album all the way through, I want it to be a nonstop rage.
onslaught. Yep.
By the end of it, I want to be in prison.
Yes.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I mean? Like, that's,
try to-
that's what I expect from that. Each song has its own different elements, and
See, and that's where
if
I
you
argue
really
with
listen
you.
to it, you can tell the difference between the songs. However, I will say,
The
if
common
I'm listening
theme.
to Currents albums while I'm on the road and I'm not listening with intent, I will catch myself
mush
3
together.
songs later like, fuck, I don't even know how many songs
Yeah.
in I'm in. Like, they do tend to blend together. But if you listen with intent, you can actually pick it out. So I think that might be the difference there. Maybe we are a little bit unfair to some of these bands that do that. But
that's where I'd argue with you, Preston, because yes, a lot of the album was kind of it was following that same formula as their previous their previous albums. But go find me a song like Over and Over on a previous one.
Better Days is pretty similar to Over and Over.
Yeah,
It's pretty damn similar.
Close. It's close. I don't think it's quite as emotional.
Well, I mean, So Alone's like the most emotional song on that album.
Right, but it's the thing I love about So Alone is it's this super emotional lyric, but it's like this crazy heavy song the whole way through. Yeah, the chorus is kind of,
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like the whole theme of that album felt like the same sound, even though each song was still different than each other. And I know a band is supposed to have their sound.
I can't believe Apnea is their number one most streamed song. That surprises me.
But I know
Better
a band
Days.
is supposed to have their sound, and there's plenty of bands that I listen to that I'm appreciative that they have
Split.
their own sound split.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Prison. Like,
I'm going there.
dude, A Flag to Wave. God, they have so many good ones. That's The Way It Ends, I believe is what those are off of. But yeah, we do, yes, I understand we probably unfairly shit on bands for doing the same thing. But like, the thing is, if you find a formula,
We also shit on them when they do something different sometimes too.
I'll also say
do it bad.
There's a
Yeah.
difference between following your own formula and following
The formula.
The formula.
yes, of Mice and Men.
It does make me a little sad.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's nothing against them. Just for me, it's like
That's what I'm saying. For me,
Yeah.
whoever, like, there might be people out there that are like, oh, I fucking hate Currents. And that's fine.
That's cool, bro.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Your life is missing
I was going to say,
something.
you're dumb, but it's fine.
You're not dumb. You're just, missing out, bro.
You're missing out. It's all good. But people probably think I'm missing out because I don't like Beartooth.
They got some tracks.
I think the only reason you don't like Beartooth is because you're not as into
Punky
punk
or
as
Yeah.
some of us are.
Fair. That's valid.
If you were more into punk, you would love
We
it.
said it before. Well, and that dude's got punky vocals. And I don't like the vocals. Probably the reason why I don't like him.
That's a big
you don't give them
component
enough
of it.
time, then maybe because
I
that's
Prevail
the-
is the one that's almost like Sleep Token, where they have some jams, and I don't want to like it, but I do.
Yeah.
That's funny because I have
Yeah.
had a few of their songs pop up on my shuffle
They've
where
got
I'm
that
like,
one off the newest.
I'm like,
don't
man,
wanna
this is
like
kind of a
this.
jam, and then I look at it and I see the band name, and I'm like,
Damn it.
I don't want to add it.
I don't want to like
but
this. They have one off
think
the
I'm gonna
newest
add
record
it.
that I. Oh, it's super poppy, deep end, like off their newest record, True Power. So I made friends with all my demons, let them sink their teeth in. Super poppy, and I'm like, I fucking hate that I
and
love this song.
We just talked about it the other day, which it's a track that I like. We haven't mentioned it, and I want to delve into a piece of this later on when we
Dude,
get to it.
just hit it. Just hit it.
Until I Wake.
Mm-hmm.
You had said in the group
Excuse me.
chat the other day that, man, I feel like they're doing the same shit every song, and it's starting to get old to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little upset with that latest Until I Wake song because the
Same.
intro, once the intro played, I was like, I've heard this intro 50 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's a good song.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
I mean, they did well, but like,
The last three they wrote were
on,
just like it,
man.
almost. Yeah.
Yep.
Like
Now, I will
Inside My
say
Head, even
their
though
newest-
I fucking love that
Their
song.
newest, it's like all their singles sound that way. It's like
Yeah,
they release
yeah.
all the poppy
Yeah,
singles. I'm like, dude,
kinda.
you guys have some gnarly shit. Like,
Yeah.
release some of the thrashier, more metalcore stuff because your screams are gnarly, dude. Like,
Well, and I'll bring it back. Dick Ryder done here. Dude, think of The Death of Me. Even though there's a common theme on The Death of Me by Polaris, every fucking song is different from each other.
yes,
I don't get that from the Currents album. I don't get that from the recent
I don't
of
disagree.
Mice and Men.
But dude, listen, we
You
cannot compare other bands to Polaris. You cannot do it.
Some people's going to say, oh, they're just like the rest of them. And that's fine too. But
Well, I hate to tell you, but they're not. That's a hill I will die on. You're wrong.
but even Moz, like Moz,
They don't
every
write it. They don't
song,
write a song that sound. Yeah.
every song on No Eternity in Gold is completely. There's a common theme. There's a common
And No
sound.
Eternity in Gold sounds completely different than
Predestination or not
Predestination.
Pure Like Porcelain.
and also sounds different than
Dark Divine.
Dark
And you
Divine.
better bounce, or
Oh, yeah.
Chris will find you.
Chris will find you.
Yeah, you better tell him to score the Reds game, and you better fucking bounce because that he will find you. He is not afraid to be a dick to you if for not bouncing. So
Yeah, I just think that's the common theme of what we're after here in this conversation is that there's a part of us that is so picky and so deep that we delve
dude, it
into this music.
pisses us off.
Yeah.
That we're that way sometimes.
Oh yeah,
We burn ourselves out on music at certain times. I just got over a point where I didn't listen to music for a week. I was straight podcast because I was like, fuck.
Yep.
And
Throw my hands up.
And then Nightmare dropped, but
Yeah.
So
now I'm back. Actually, it was actually
Antimatter.
It was actually Antimatter, and then like the day the Antimatter dropped, I was like, "Yep, that's a good song," but I'm done. And then I heard Confined.
Oh yeah,
I
you
sent in the
lost
chat,
your
and I
shit to
said, "I'm
Confined.
back. I'm back." I was
Yeah.
like, that's like if I'm ever like completely out of it, I know there's one record I can always go to that gets me back in that angry mindset of metalcore, because I don't ever want to listen to Polaris when I'm not in the mood for music. Because I don't ever want to be just
Discredit.
shunt, like,
Yes. Yes.
So like
Yep.
when I hear Confined or Through Struggle or something like that, I'm like, okay, I'm back, motherfuckers. And that's what I said in the chat. I sent
Yep.
Confined. I was like, I'm back. I'm back.
So I think for me, I do catch myself being picky at times, but out of the three of us, I would say
You're probably the least picky.
I'm probably the least picky, but I also have this great appreciation for the beauty of simplicity.
Absolutely.
I would say that you're the least picky, but the hardest to blow away.
I would agree with that. But when I listen to some of the stuff that I say, I'm like, I've heard it a million times, or it sounds the same as everything else. When I listen to it, it's because I've heard that exact same riff, that same open chug rhythm that's all you do. Like that's basically all I heard in that Of Mice and Men song was just the same simplistic fucking open chug rhythm with the guitars,
verse, bridge, chorus, breakdown.
Yeah, the song structure was the same.
Yeah, but how about a 6-string 30-inch baritone in Antimatter?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty dope.
It's different.
I'm pretty
But-
sure that's what it is. I thought that's what I seen in the video. I could be wrong.
I do feel my love for the beauty of simplicity comes from being creative with that
I
simplicity
was gonna say grunge.
rather than I'm just going to copy a formula. Because when I say simplicity, I mean like you can play some basic ass shit on a guitar, have two guitars going, and neither of them are really doing anything spectacular, but the way they mesh is creative. Like the harmonies they picked out are creative, and maybe the vocal harmonies really, like, maybe it's not a spectacular vocal performance and it's, they're staying within a certain range, but they got really creative with the notes they picked out and how those notes harmonize with the rest of the music, or rhythmically and work with the rest of the music. So it's not so much that simplicity means a lack of creativity, I guess is what I'm saying. And I think a lot of this shit that I complain about is because it lacks creativity. Not so much, like, I don't really complain about simplistic shit. I complain about when it's like laziness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and another example, the opposite of that, the newest Invent Animate record. There's a common theme throughout that record. It's Invent Animate, but every song is different enough from each other for us to lose our shit the whole fucking time.
Absolutely. I would say the same thing about Alpha Wolf's newest album. Like that album's
Their newest album?
Their latest one.
Which one is that? Like Akadiyama? I don't know how to pronounce
it's got some like
like black and red and
black
orange,
and
or
orange
something.
and
Yeah,
God bless it.
it's been a while since that dropped.
Yeah, but it's still their newest
Yeah.
record. They
Yeah.
have an EP out, but
Yeah.
I'm talking their newest full record. A Quiet Place to Die, which they only have
Yeah.
2 records, so.
Yeah,
But yeah, Akudama, yeah. Creep, Bleed for You, Acid Romance, Restricted, Golden Fate, Isolate, Rotten Pieces, like
I think a new genre that we have created in regards to explaining these different bands, and there's a certain few that fit into this category: Boundaries, Johnny Booth, Alpha Wolf, and I know a
Wolf.
lot of them.
Shared of 1,000 Wolves.
I know a lot of them are different than each other, but like I was thinking the other day,
Wolf.
Structured Rage.
Yeah.
It's just all. That's what it is.
Structured
It's
Rage.
Structured Rage.
Ragecore.
Yeah.
Structured Rage. Razor sharp precision.
Like a Norma Jean. But it's just besides the point.
I
But
wouldn't say that Norma Jean is structured rage. They're very unstructured rage. They're unmitigated rage.
could be.
They have no
Just like-
remorse.
Just like Kublai Khan. Kublai
I don't know how
Khan.
to
Yeah, that
pronounce it.
thingy.
I don't know how to pronounce it. I never got into those guys. Maybe I need
Kublai.
to get into them.
I just love dude's scream. Like it's so unique.
Yeah.
It's like he's just like yelling very loudly, angrily.
I like to yell at people.
And he says bitch a lot.
Sweet.
Yeah, he's kind of like
Like that dude,
You can run, but you can't hide, bitch. Oh man, geez, he likes to say bitch a lot, doesn't he, Rick?
That bitch better not look fat in a dress.
It's funny because that thing goes home to his fucking wife and he's like, "Shut up, bitch."
bitch. Out there, not in here. Scary Terry.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm late for class. Oh no, I'm not wearing any pants.
I'm clueless.
How many times have we told you got to watch Rick and Morty?
I don't
bro?
watch TV.
I don't watch TV. You pay for TV, watch TV. Rick and
guess.
Morty. It will change your life.
I've watched bits and pieces and it's fine.
No, well, you can't just watch bits and pieces. Rick. Bit a bit, don't two, bit a two, bit a two and a quarter, not half, not 75. Okay, but anyway. So that was an
What do we
interesting
wanna
topic.
move into?
I do want to touch on
I think that
again.
was a good conversation.
It was, yeah. Hopefully we made people think. I do
Or
want
hate us,
to,
and that's fine, too.
That's fine too. Hey, what in any exposure is good exposure? Is that what?
Well,
they
and I
used to
think
say?
a lot of people can relate to that conversation because as a music listener, I'm sure there's people out there that, whether it's the bands we had
yeah.
mentioned or other bands, they feel that exact same
and
way.
every metalhead defends their opinion violently.
Yeah, that is
So
true.
hey, that's one thing I will compliment all of us
Yep.
metalheads about is if we have an opinion, we fucking defend it with violence.
Yep.
So that's metal as fuck. I do want to just personally for me, I do want to touch on Nightmare.
Are you ready?
And we don't have
you
to
listened
Bring
enough?
it.
Okay.
Yeah, so Preston, you and I watched the premiere of it, the live premiere on YouTube.
I was on my way home from work. My 8-month-old daughter was waiting for her daddy to come home, and my wife was waiting for her husband to come home. And I pulled over in a parking lot so I could watch this music
Questionable
video
time
premiere.
management with my family.
Yes. My wife called me shortly after, and I said, "Babe, I love you more than
Here's-
anything in this world, but
except
I
for
had to
Polaris.
do
I love
this.
you, bitch, but
I had to do this."
Except
And
for Polaris.
she's awesome. She understood. All was great.
I had just put my almost 10-month to bed, and I had it as loud as I possibly could, like moshing in the living room. So
Goosebumps.
yeah, dude, nuts. I mean, it's just, and again, it has so much more meaning behind it because of obviously Ryan's passing and watching Ryan shred in this just desert oasis by himself, and I'm just like, that's where he's at right now, bro. My dude's just in heaven, shredding on a mayonnaise,
Writing the
like,
sickest fucking riffs possible.
and so it was just so Inhumane is fantastic. It's so different for them, and then for them to come out with Nightmare that's just this straight punch in the fucking face with this gorgeous chorus, and then you know, the very Polaris clean
At the
outro
end,
type thing.
Mortal
and
Coil to a T.
Yeah, Mortal Coil type shit. And it's just, it's what we said it before we started recording. It's like watching the Georgia Bulldogs play football.
Mm-hmm. No, we're not Georgia fans.
No, we're Buckeye fans, so we're a little sore. But it's like watching Georgia play football because you know what you're going to see. You know what you're going to get. But every time you watch it or you hear it, you're like,
Just fascinating.
how
Every
do
time.
they keep doing this? How do they continue to write songs like this that make me absolutely manic?
Yeah.
And that's what I got from Nightmare. And like I was texting some buddies, shout out Jake Perkins. We talked about it after the premiere, and it's just like the people I talked to had all the same like emotions that I did about it, which does my heart great joy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they're finally starting to get some of the recognition that they deserve worldwide.
On a bigger level, yeah.
Not just isolated, and then obviously Australia, they're like the biggest thing in Australia, but
Yeah.
they've overtaken Parkway.
Yep.
That's very,
Yep.
you know, so that's a big deal. But
Mm-hmm.
like it was so good for me to finally like see some of the recognition of, oh my God, these dudes are elite. And I'm like, yeah,
They are it.
I've been telling you that for years, for fucking 10 years now, since Dichotomy. Okay. So I told you that it became my new favorite Polaris song. Just like it hit me that hard, bro. And every Polaris song is my favorite Polaris song, but like that Nightmare hit me so hard, and it actually made me appreciate and love Inhumane more. I was afraid it was going to make me not like Inhumane because Inhumane's different.
Because the two tracks are different from
They're
each other.
completely different,
This
bro.
ties into exactly what
It does.
the conversation
It's a great. That's kind of why I wanted to run into this, because it's a great tie-in.
And I don't know how to put it into words why they're different from each other, but if you listen, you would understand.
Yeah.
Just go listen to it.
Yeah, just man, the blast beats in the first verse just got me losing my fucking.
Because there wasn't any in
dude.
Inhumane, so it's like
Yes.
you get these two singles that are both so
It's like
heavy
a Hypermania type single
versus
and then
Vagabond. Or
Vagabond.
what about
I don't want to say Landmine because it's not. Dude, to me, Nightmare was like, for some reason, I got vibes of Masochist in like the chorus, but then I also got vibes of, what's
you said the
fast
breakdown in
verse?
Hypermania?
Is it Creatures of Habit? Which I know Creatures of Habit's real hammer on pull offy type riffs, but there's another song that I got other vibes from with Nightmare, but it just felt like this mix of all of Polaris in one, but in a simple, not over the top kind of song
And
for
the
Polaris.
tone. Oh, it made me want to puke, bro.
Yep.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I mean, I have more thoughts to add, but go ahead. You need to jump into this conversation.
So I feel like I'm able to enter this conversation more
I knew
objectively
that's
than
what you
you
were gonna
guys
say.
can. Because
we're super
Polaris
fans. We're super fans.
is your guys' all-time favorite.
Correct.
For you guys, Polaris is so far above everything else.
Yep.
I don't entirely disagree with that, but we've also mentioned that for me, Polaris is not my favorite metalcore band.
Make sure the video's still going, Preston.
So with them not being my favorite band, I don't go into it quite the same way that you guys do, where you guys might, not that you got your opinions are at all wrong. I agree with everything you guys have said, but there could be a little bit of that element of like the Avenged Sevenfold fans where like they go into it
sure.
and they're
Like a
like
favoritism.
I'm sure there's listeners that think that.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I come into it with a little more
Objectivity. Yeah.
Objective view of it. Have I geeked out about the songs quite like you guys have? No. Did I rage to them? I mean, I did the thing. One of the things that really jumped out to me with the new Polaris song Nightmare is Press and I were sitting here last night and we were listening to it, and I pointed out the part that really stuck out to me, and it was like the second part to their little breakdown, right? And it was this or whatever.
It's
And
very Hypermania-esque.
we hear that same kind of riff a lot in metalcore. And when I heard it, at first I was like, "Oh no. Are they going to do something that's just like everybody else?" But then they done this like back and forth pattern where they hit that part. The second time they went through, they added to it, but in such a super tasteful way.
Subtle.
That was subtle but creative, but also
Poked right out at
at
Yes.
you,
Yep.
and you could tell like that's
It's
not
them.
a riff played by the faint of heart. And that to me really spoke to why Polaris is so amazing, and why you guys saying that Polaris is so amazing is in no way incorrect. Because they're doing something that in essence is kind of simple, but they're adding a creative twist to it. They're doing that kind of simple thing to bring more people in and to make sense of what they're doing, but then adding to it here and there to still captivate the audience of like us, where we're looking for something different. And that's maybe maybe I'm thinking too deep into that particular part.
I was going to say that I love that Tyler, Polaris isn't his favorite metalcore band, because it keeps you and me in check.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if all three of us felt the exact same way, then we couldn't have it would just be,
Yep.
yep, this is the greatest thing ever. But Tyler approaches it from a little different angle, where he can see things a lot more objectively, and he's not sitting there saying, "Oh, you're wrong." No, it's just, hey, here's what me, a little more on the outside looking in, being as Moths is my favorite band as opposed to Polaris, I can see this a little more objective. I'm speaking, of course, in Tyler here, but I love that we were able to have these conversations with someone who looks at things just a little bit differently than we do when it comes to Polaris, because it would be incredibly boring if he didn't.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then they break into that next part of the breakdown after
the
that.
actual second breakdown.
riffs.
The
riff,
actual
which made
second breakdown with
the cloudy riff,
chords.
and then the
Oh,
chunk, the chug.
Look, that's let me fucking tell you, motherfuckers.
I was ready to slit my
That
own
is
throat.
how you do some open chord chugs
Yes.
with some
Creativity.
rhythm and creative rhythms.
Yes, I was
because
getting ready to say creativity in the rhythm.
that's not just that's what the chugs are all about. The chugs are all about rhythm. It's not about any
punch.
kind of melody or harmony or anything
no.
like that. It's about a wall that is punching you.
Yes.
Physically doesn't even make sense, but it fucking happens in music.
You feel it, bro.
When you get them chugs, that is what it is. A wall fucking hitting you. You're not running into the wall. That motherfucker's coming at you. And when you're one of these basic ass bands that are just
Yeah, it's not
doing
that
a straight through beat, dude, that gets so fucking boring, and it's been done so many
It's vanilla
times.
as fuck,
Yep.
bro.
But then you also have the other end of the spectrum where like you have gent,
Yeah.
where it gets a little too like weird
Yeah.
at times.
12 noise gates.
They'll have like a fucking dun dun
Yeah.
dun, and it's like
Bro,
the
that's
fucking
periphery.
yeah, it's like the disc is skipping or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like Polaris is able to
It really is a
meet
mix.
in the middle
Yep.
where they're like, we're not going to do this thing way out in fucking
It's very
left
progressive.
field, but we're also not going to do this basic bullshit, and we're going to get creative with the rhythms where, really the only way to be able to do something like that is, maybe they're not counting it out in their head like you would with very rhythmic shit. Like gent people, they're probably fucking counting that shit out in their head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. But
But they're
to be able to
Strandbergs up here.
make sure they're hitting the shit when they're supposed
What
to.
they're called Strandbergs.
Yeah, I don't know that some weirdos.
Shout out plenty.
Shout out Mathcore. Shout out Virgins.
But like for Polaris,
That's what you are.
but for Polaris to be able to incorporate some of that raw, basic, open chord chug shit that we all love, no matter how fucking metal elitist you are. You're not gonna fucking tell me you don't love some open chord chugs.
Right.
Like, fuck you, bro, if you don't like it.
Facts.
But doing it in a way that no one else is doing it with the rhythmic style that you're incorporating, that made that breakdown. Like, I wanted to throw everything in my garage. And let me fucking tell you, we're going to go back to the beginning of the episode. This is a fucking warehouse.
Yep.
I have amps on cabinets on guitars.
On pedals,
I got
on
6
mics,
guitars
on
on their fucking way because my dad got given a bunch and he fucking feels
how
he's
many
got a
guitars
store.
are in here right
It's
now?
stupid.
15?
I wanted to throw all of it. I wanted to pick up each thing individually
There's
and throw it on the floor.
$50,000 worth of shit in here, and
I just wanted to smash it all
Dude,
because that fucking riff just
Bro,
melted.
that second part of that breakdown, I kid you not, I got goosebumps, and I like gritted my teeth to a point that I thought I was chipping my teeth off. Like I just this level of anger.
About knocked the feelings out of my teeth, bro.
Yeah, bro. Like I'm biased. I get it.
Yeah, I know. We are.
I don't know the last time another band did that to me. Like that feeling.
Dude,
I've
I'm
never
telling you
heard
right now,
I've never heard a
that
breakdown
song.
like that.
I'm telling you right now.
Rhythmically.
We've talked about, influences, how much we love Metallica, how much I love As I Lay Dying, how much I love Bullet, all this shit. There ain't no fucking band on the planet that's ever made me like literally put my life on hold to watch a
Yes.
fucking premiere of a song.
Yes. It
And,
felt
like-
like I was back in the 80s when all people did was
Like wait for
Die to these hair
a
metal
track
bands
to be
and-
released.
yeah.
Like
Mom, I'm listening to the radio. Pork chops are hot. Get them.
Mom, I'm done with my segment.
Yes, there it is, John Clayton.
And his Slayer shirt.
And then he's eating his ramen noodles.
He's eating his ramen noodles.
Blood's
He just
playing.
like pulls out the ponytail. I'm done with my segment. Tyler, you don't get what we're talking about. There's
No.
an old Sports Center commercial.
ESPN or
Or this
Sports Center, yeah.
this nerdy guy that's a Sports Center guy. He's bald, had glasses. There's a commercial
Awesome
where
dude.
he gets done with his segment and he's got like a taped on collared shirt with a tie and he tears it off and there's a Slayer shirt underneath it.
hilarious.
And he like undoes this big long ponytail, jamming Slayer, jumps on his bed with a big thing of like noodles. He's like,
Ramen
Mom,
noodles."
I'm done with my segment, and he's fucking headbanging.
Yeah,
It was a
fucking
national
hilarious.
commercial.
One of the
That's what
best
it-
commercials I've
That's
ever
what it
seen,
felt like,
dude.
bro. Cheyenne was like trying to like have a conversation with me when I was listening to that, and I literally like was dickish. I'm like, you got to give me a fucking minute.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I am not prepared to speak to you right now.
Like I don't know if I can watch this video again. It's the premiere.
It's never gonna happen again. So
It's never going to premiere again.
yeah. So it's just, and again, I know we're Preston and I especially are very biased.
We
and
are.
If you don't agree, that's okay. But I do. Excuse me, I burped.
It's one hell of a track, dude.
Yeah, it's incredible. I just can't wait for the record. I'm so glad we get to go see him on tour in October. So
It was all of Polaris in one, but in a simple track. And I don't mean simple from the technicalities of playing it.
they didn't have to write.
But they
some
didn't bounce. The
bonkers-ass,
song
super
structure
shreddy-
wasn't all over the place.
No.
But you had Mortal Coil at the end. You had Pieces of Masochist in the chorus. But then you had New Polaris too, with I think maybe a slightly lower tuning.
Yeah, and
And you had Jamie
singing, which
a
is
little
incredible,
bit. Yes.
and like it's
Yep.
yeah. There was just so much new shit that made the old parts of it sound that much better.
Hey, let's talk about Jake adding a little bit of seasoning to his
Mm.
voice.
Oh, bro, he did, dude. Like some
Got a little
It wasn't
spicy
just
there.
Jake singing choruses, like which
little-
we heard it in Inhumane when they were doing the back and forth in the verses.
Yeah.
You know, whatever they were doing, like we heard a piece of that, but then this song, it was in the chorus when you heard Jake doing that.
It honestly reminded me of, I forget at what point it was. It was probably, so for me it reminded me of Thrice. So Thrice's vocalist Dustin, his clean vocals sounded very clean up until that To Be Everywhere Is To Be Nowhere, when he got real like gravelly, got a lot
Grainy.
of that got a lot of that rasp into his voice, and you really noticed a change in his vocal style, like right off the rip going into that album compared to all these multiple albums they had prior. Not that, some of that rasp didn't exist, but like he really found it on that album. And then for Polaris going into this album, and I hear Jake sounding like that, I'm like, I go back to what's the first album?
Dichotomy.
I go back to and listen to that, and I listen to Jake sing, and he almost sounds like a kid.
Yeah,
a kid singing. They were probably
10 years ago.
Fucking 17, 18
probably. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could tell
I think
they were
our age. So,
and then like you hear them going into
Ryan was younger than us.
The Mortal Coil and The Death of Me, where he's almost still trying to sing like that, but you hear that like his voice is aging a little bit, but in a positive way, aging almost like a fine wine. Mm-hmm. And then we get into this, and it's like, ooh.
So the vocal growth of both Jamie and Jake.
It's happening.
So if you go back to listen to Dichotomy, you listen to like Jamie screams like he's screaming to scream. Yep. It's great. You can still tell it's Jamie, but he's really focused on his gutturals and like. And as he's progressed, he has this super unique.
It's him.
It's Jamie Hales, man.
Yep.
Like
he found it.
Is it Hales or Halls?
Hails.
Okay.
So he is
my bad, Jamie.
Evolved into this monster of a vocalist.
He is a monster, bro.
Dude, him and Chris from Miles are the
They're
best.
Monsters,
they're the best.
man.
They're absolute psychopaths. They're the
they're one sneeze away from
that is the highest form of a compliment when I'm talking about a vocalist. I think those are the two best metalcore vocal, like especially when it comes to screams in the game. The best
in metalcore.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. My God, Garrett from Silent Planet sounded fucking good on that new track too.
But he's got one scream, bro.
I know, but he sounded good.
He's got one scream. Jamie and Chris are fucking.
Ooh.
I would say the dude from Silent Planet has a little bit of range to him, but not much. I'd agree with that. But like I said earlier, I don't think there's as much metalcore.
Right.
Metalcore specifically.
And I'm talking
Chris and Jamie.
Strictly unclean.
Oh,
because if we're talking about both,
enter
Chris Motionless, Noah Sebastian,
right,
Courtney LaPlante, people like that can do it. But Courtney LaPlante.
So, girl.
R.I.P. to.
I just want to play guitar with Mike.
Oh, dude, teach me how to pick scrape like you, bro.
Any other thoughts to add on that?
I don't think so, man. I'm tired.
I hope we did it. It's due service.
No, and it's we talk about Polaris a lot. I didn't want to spend a ton of time on it because I don't want to wear people out. But we've talked about some new music. We've talked about some great stuff. Tyler, do you have any other topics before we send it home? Oh God, here we go. He looked at me and
I do too. What time did we start?
10:10.
Okay.
I'm tired.
I'm not too bad.
Well, strap in, buddy.
You say strap in or strap on?
I mean, maybe both.
Just don't fat in the dress and I'll strap it on.
I'll turn on the childers and we can just
so
marinate.
Back to old Dan Skinner.
Skinny. I apologize.
That's his name,
Dan
right?
Skinny. Dan.
Okay, Dan.
Skinner. Yep.
So he hit us up on the channel and
on the
tubes. I think he messaged us through Instagram, but he
did, correct.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Something that he spoke of in that message thread really connected with me, and it was he was talking about there's no other metalheads in his town. His only other metal friend lives far away,
Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
But that him and his friend have started to kind of lose the inspiration, the motivation to continue to play.
Mm-hmm.
Play music together.
Play music.
Okay.
Period.
Yeah, just period.
And it's harder for them to collaborate being in the longer distances, and because it's harder for them to collaborate, they have less motivation to play. And I assume that's because, and I think a lot of people would agree, playing music is more fun with other people, and we've talked about that on the show.
If I was still just a bedroom guitarist, man,
you probably wouldn't be doing as much
I wouldn't
as you
be
do
as
now.
inspired.
Yeah.
I would not be as inspired.
So that got me thinking about some things last night. And I got a little emotional in my head, thinking about it. And it was, considering all the things that I have going on in life. And how I have honestly, since I graduated high school, started while I was in the military, having this issue of getting back to playing guitar, playing on a regular basis, because prior to that, it was every single day I played for multiple hours a day. And then it was almost like a switch flipped, and went to the Navy, wasn't able to play, and I've never been able to get back to that routine. And I find myself at times feeling very motivated to play, really getting into it. And it might not be every day, but it'll be multiple times a week that I would get to play. Other times I could go a week, maybe even 2 weeks without picking up an instrument. And it's, the last few years, it's been really the main time I pick up an instrument is when we're having band practice. And I started thinking of why is it that I have such a lack of motivation to pick up the guitar outside of band practice, because I can claim that I don't have the time. If I really broke down my day, I could find 20, maybe 30 minutes almost every day to be able to play. And then I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, man, I take on a lot, and I don't want to get into too much of that. I've talked about it to some extent on the show. The struggles with work, kids, just the daily grind that wears you out. And I know that I want to play music. I know that music is my outlet. Playing music is my outlet. Listening to music is my outlet. And I know that I want to play music because of what it does for my mental health. And considering everything I have going on in life, I recognize that I can't really make that a priority. Right, I can't really make playing guitar a priority over going to work or taking care of the kids or this or that. But I realize that a lot of my struggle comes from knowing that in my mind, I'm like, I have to do music or I'll go fucking insane. But having that feeling that I have to do it makes it feel like it's a chore.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, I had that realization of, how do you balance this when you have so much going on and you're having this lack of motivation to play because you're tired, because you went through a hard day, but then you tell yourself, oh, well, I have to play or I'm going to go fucking insane. And somehow you're going to enjoy this experience when you pick up the guitar, feeling like you literally forced yourself into doing it on the basis that you have to do it as any other chore. Like, if I don't do this, there's going to be some consequence.
I think it's not that you have to play, it's that you have to create. And what I mean by that is I could go home right now and let's say I haven't played today, which me and Kyler played before we got together for a show, but play our songs to get like our songs that we've played a million times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, say to run through the set list before a show tomorrow. I'd get minimal fulfillment out of it. We've talked about it on this show. I have these sounds in my head that have to become real.
Right. You got to get them out of your head.
And when I was on vacation a couple weeks ago, like I was literally on vacation in my little bit of my own solitude by myself with these sounds in my head, whether it was a song that I was listening to that sparked something, but it's like I have to create. And that week break, I came back and I was as motivated as ever when it comes to creativity and wanting to spew these thoughts and these sounds out in front of me.
So I actually had a very similar conversation with my dad today. I was talking about how my job, right, what I do for a living, it is my dream job.
Mm.
It isn't my dream passion.
It's not your, yeah.
Whatever you do, so like this is why people that they're working a 9 to 5, they're doing whatever, and then they start a side business. I'll take our buddy Caden Roberts for example. He started the auto detailing thing and was doing it constantly, like after work, making a shit ton of money doing it. Grew his clientele extremely fast and got burnt out on it really quick because it became a job. People that, so like when I think about my passion, well, my passion is livestock and music. Okay, I work in agronomy and row crops. That's not my passion. I'm not passionate about corn. I'm passionate about livestock because I grew up raising livestock, and I'm passionate about music. If I had to do livestock and music every day to pay my bills, it becomes a job.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to quickly be like, well, I guess I better do this today or I'm not going to be able to eat tomorrow. No matter what it is, any passion can become a job and feel like a chore if you do it for a living or you're doing it too much. So finding that balance of, hey, so I'm in a great spot where I love my job, I love what I do for a living, but it's not my true passion, so I keep it in check. I keep my passions separate. This is a passion. You and me jamming before the show is a passion. I'm not doing it for a living. I don't have to do it. It's that freedom of, hey, I don't have to do this.
I get
to support myself. I get to do this. I have the pleasure and the opportunity to do this and not have to rely on it to feed my family.
You make a good point because I was listening to a podcast the other day and
how dare you listen to a different podcast than this?
Yeah. I think it was Riff Hard, John Brown's podcast called Riff Hard, and Current's guitarist was on it. I think this is the podcast that I was listening to. It may have been something different, but it was a professional musician where they were talking somewhat similar to what we're talking about, and he delves into other outlets. Hold on. Was it Steve that was telling us this? When Steve was talking about artists it becoming like your day to day, and then they delve into something else because
he was talking about someone that
maybe it was our conversation with Steve. Sorry, all this shit runs together because I listen to so much shit. But yeah, like he was talking about
because he was talking about how there was a particular artist that farms as a passion. And this dude's over here doing it as a job, but does music as his passion. Yeah. Like the, polarity
like even if
it
was your job, like you have to have that outlet and that getaway.
Yeah, if you don't have something to escape the everyday grind, you're going to go crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm very careful about, and this was kind of the borderline of what, the conversation with my dad was today was, you know, I made the comment of, man, if I could do music for a living or if I could do livestock for a living, I would do it in a heartbeat. He's like, you would, and then it wouldn't be your passion anymore because you would have to do it to support your family. And it becomes a job. There's dream jobs and there's dream passions. So, like, I never want this to become a job. I always want it to be a passion and not feel like a chore.
Well, that's in our own control. We should never, even if we were to do something real with
real
this,
big, yeah.
Yeah, like we have to make it a point that it's not our job. Like this is what we do.
Yep.
But I'm really glad you took it there, Kyler, because that kind of touches on kind of the second piece of that thought, which was we've talked a little bit how the band has gotten lazy and how we don't do as much. I don't do as much on the business side. We're not booking a ton of shows. We're writing more. We're creating more. So this kind of ties into what both of you guys have said. But like, I really need the band to be an outlet. I need it to be fun. And it's because of that need of it just being fun rather than us trying to push and push and push to make it big or do something crazy with the band or this podcast. Because I take on so much on a day-to-day basis, like I have to have an outlet. And if I treat the band as just another job, or if I treat this podcast as another job, it will just add to the mental strain of everything else in my life that is a chore or a job or all this shit that grinds me down, and then I would have nothing. I would have nothing to lift me up. Because even the gym at times feels like a chore.
Yeah.
And it's in the name of discipline. And one of the notes I made is a lot of the shit that I take on that mentally or physically strains me is really self-inflicted, and it's for my own reasons that I do that. I'm always looking to challenge myself, but I think to kind of help with Dan's concerns around that and anyone else that's dealing with that issue of, oh, well, I don't feel like picking up the instrument as much as I once did, is stop treating it like it's a chore. If you feel like it's a chore, then you probably have maybe you've created some goal around this that you're trying to strive to,
or something. Yeah.
And you know that in order to achieve that goal, you have certain steps you have to take, you have certain disciplines that you have to incorporate into this thing that may turn it into feeling more like a chore rather than the passion that it should be. And I think at times that also really contributes to like writer's block, lack of influence, period, because at this point, you know, oh, I have to write this fucking album to meet the deadline for the record label or whatever. I don't want to do it. It feels like a job, and I'm kind of forcing some creative juices to flow that don't want to flow, and so what comes out isn't organic or natural, and it sounds like shit. It sounds like fucking Of Mice and Men.
Yeah, so
I know you meant that to be funny, but it's accurate.
Both, yes.
Yeah.
And I think about that personally, and
I took that personally.
Yeah, I took that personally.
Because like we've been lazy as fuck the past few years with the band stuff, but like I can't afford to make the band a priority in the way that I once did, because I need it to be the passion. I need it to be the outlet.
Well, and it goes to show why almost every practice that we've had in the last year, it's literally been about creation.
Right.
It ain't been playing the old unless we absolutely have to because of an upcoming gig or whatever. But I relate on a personal level because I think the reason I've had minimal lulls in my progress as a guitar player this will sound ironic to maybe some listeners, is I've never set goals for myself as a guitar player. Like, I got to learn to sweep pick by this point. I got to learn to do this, or I'm going to take 4 weeks to where I can get to a point and I can do this. The guitar has always been my paintbrush. I pick it up and I just want to fucking create. And 6 months later, I'm like, holy shit, look at all this fucking progress I made indirectly.
Yep.
It's my paintbrush.
But I feel like for me, I get caught in the mindset trap of, rather than treating it as, this is just my paintbrush, or this is just me dicking off to relax for a bit, it's, I have to do this or I'm going to go nuts. Or I have to learn this song so that we can play it live. I have to write this part so that we can eventually release this new song. I have to do this. I have to do that. I get to a point where I just don't want to do the shit. And, even with this podcast, I'll admit season 2 was a royal bitch, because we were doing this thing where, coming straight out of season 1, we were like, we're going to start doing the season thing so that we can get on this routine where it'll give us more flexibility. But during that stretch of season 2,
2 to 3 episodes a week.
It was 2 to 3 episodes a week, and we're spending 2, sometimes 3 hours on recording the episode, and then I'm spending an hour or so mixing the episode and then uploading it and sending it to Kyler. And I know Kyler can relate, because then he's spending an hour or so
doing the video
editing and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then I know, Kyler kind of mentioned it earlier, we kind of lean on Kyler to do a lot of the social media shit.
Yep.
And then he's over here like, dude, this Twitter thing's getting to me.
Yep.
It's super negative, and I'm expected to kind of live in this world. I'm done. And
I had mentioned
there was no fucking disagreement from us. Fuck Twitter.
I had mentioned it a couple times before, and I'd kind of like pulled. I'm like, okay, you're fine. You can listen. If you're listening, you're on metal Twitter, and I'm sorry, we've talked about it before, but like,
we
get a little controversial.
Fucked.
We're like, huh?
I said the algorithm's fucked.
We're not very liberal people here, and I'm not going to get political, but like that side of the aisle crams a lot of their shit down our throats, and that's what a lot of metal Twitter was. And it wasn't just that; it was like the shaming of the other side. And I'm like, look, I never ever made one single political tweet from the pod's Twitter. I kept it strictly about music. All the engagement I did was on music. But I saw less and less and less about music, and more and more about politics.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
My private Twitter is not like that, because of obviously stuff you like and stuff you choose to, be involved in. And I had just gotten to the point where I'm like, look, I am literally so pissed off at the world right now that I wasn't active on our Twitter for like 10 days before I finally told you guys, I'm like, I'm done. And like Ty said, there was no argument from you guys on that at all.
Well, it seemed
put
like
a lot of mental strain on me, bro. Like,
it seemed like it contributed to that like week, or so that you didn't want to fuck with music even.
Yeah, it was rough, dude. I mean, it really got to me, like, on a lot of different levels. And I was just kind of like, boys, if I don't get out of this Twitter thing with the pod, like, I'm going to be done with the social media aspect of it, period. And I know I don't want that, because that's the only platform that's like that.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, none of that is like that compared to Twitter. Twitter is just this toxic wasteland of believe what I believe, or I'm going to cram it down your throat, and if you don't agree, I'm going to cancel you.
Yeah.
That's what metal Twitter was becoming. And I'm like, I'm out. This isn't what I want to be involved in. I'm not here for politics. I'm here for music.
The love of
and
music.
people like, oh, here's a list of artists you shouldn't listen to because their cousin's brother's ex-wife or ex-wife's son is a
closet racist.
Yeah, they liked a Donald Trump tweet in 2016, and I'm like, are you fucking
That
kidding
that shit was going down the rabbit hole then. Jesus Christ.
bro? It was
That's
bad.
the level people take it to on Twitter. I'm
It was
sure.
so
Sad,
bad.
man. That's
I'm
why
like,
I
I
follow
couldn't
Twitter for sports and
Mhm.
funny shit. That's
sports. That's all I use it for anymore is
Yep.
sports. But anyways, yeah, it's man, if you don't check your mental headspace, sometimes you can completely check out of your passion, and that's where I was headed with the whole
So
Twitter
Dan,
thing.
give it time, man. Find your why
Take
with
a
it.
deep breath, brother.
Yep.
Just-
Find your why with it, dude. You love the shit that.
and you're a very talented musician.
Yep.
Is he playing a keys on that video he sent us? Because it looked like a keys.
I didn't
He
see it, so.
I don't know what he was playing, but it was really cool for him to take that video and send it to us, because to me,
And he asked for feedback.
he asked for feedback, and I tried to deliver. He was like, I don't know where to go from here, and I tried to do some da 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 and dun 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 dun.
I think you laid it out
And
decent.
it didn't land.
The
But,
metal sounds.
But
It sounded great in my head.
it kind of reminded me of like when Derek got on the show, and he was like, man, this kind of revitalized my
Yeah.
passion for playing, and I started playing again.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope, and maybe Dan can give us the feedback, but maybe this podcast and listening to these conversations has helped
Reignites
him
that fire.
reignite that passion and that fire to keep playing. And I really hope we're doing that for more people.
I do too.
Because
man.
I
And
know-
Kyler, couldn't you say the same? Hadn't this show kind of got you
Absolutely,
back into
bro.
playing?
Motherfucker, I went out and
You
spent.
went and bought a
Hey,
guitar.
flash it to the camera.
Oh, you want me to-
Flash it to the camera.
Yeah, show that Jackson off, baby.
Let's go.
Shit.
Yeah,
All white.
she ain't no bitch.
All white.
She purty.
Yeah, this pod made me grow the balls that I hadn't had for years and go out and buy my dream guitar and drop a pretty penny on it because I had reignited my my
Love.
passion for music. We should have had this beautiful son of a bitch sitting in front of the camera the whole time, shouldn't we? But
Yeah.
we got a lot of pretty guitars in here. But yeah, and I hope that we do that for, and I know we did it for Derek. I hope we do it for Daniel, because we want people to, if they don't already have the passion, to get it. If they've lost it, to find it again, and if they feel like others can enjoy it too, to bring them into the fold.
That's what keeps us going, man.
Absolutely. That's why we do it. And that's why comments and conversations like we had with Dan really invigorate us with we're doing the right things. Because we're not doing this just, yes, we've talked about, yes, it's fun, but that's not the sole reason of why we're doing this. We're doing this because we know it works. We know that we are reaching people and making them feel good about their love for music and be therapeutic for some people. And, we know we entertain and make you laugh and all that. And we have the funny moments, the serious moments, the sad moments, because that's what life is, man. And we want to, include as many people as we can in this brotherhood. So that was a great way to send it home, unless you guys have anything else you want to.
I don't have any more to add. I do not.
Tyler?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I had, and I will comment as a final comment with Daniel saying like he was surprised that we were willing to chat with him, some random guy on the internet, and I will counter that
That's
and
what
say
we
that
are,
I'm
bro.
surprised that he wanted to have that conversation, because I feel like we're just nobodies, and for him to kind of reach out to us and have the conversation we had with him, and that was something like I got juiced about the podcast all over again.
Absolutely, man. It just, like I said, it reignites that.
That's the reason why
desire.
we started in the first place.
It's the reason why we started in the first place, man. And I'm just so fortunate for all of our listeners that have been there from the start. The new Dan's a perfect example. Just stumbled across us, and now he's had this, like, and he's telling his buddies about it. And I'm like, that's what we want. Like, whether you're an old head that's been with us from the start, or you're new to the show, we hope you take something from every episode, and we hope that you find a reason to come back, because we have these types of conversations every episode, man. It's just, and it's something different every week. It's always something that comes up, but there's always a common theme of we want to include.
There's an identity. I mean, the last solo episode we did, I had talked about, and we had all agreed that we've started to create, however 20 episodes deep, however many deep, like we've started to create an identity for the show, even though we never spoke that identity into words. It just became, this is it, you know?
Absolutely. So, hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation. We wanted to riff it tonight and talk about all kinds of different stuff, and we definitely did that. So, thank you so much to all of you for joining in this journey and coming along with us. So, we love each and every one of you. We appreciate each and every one of you. Please reach out to us. Give us your feedback. Drop us a line on any of our socials. Leave a review. We love to chat with our listeners. We'll never be too big for our britches to talk to anybody. We're just guys being dudes. That's all we are. So thank you guys so much. Again, follow all of our socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, at TSIS
Don't be fat in the
Podcast.
dress.
What's that?
Don't be fat in the dress.
Don't be fat in the dress. Just search the Screaming Idiot Show. If you want to binge all the content, please feel free to hop on our Patreon, which is just $5 a month. I think it's probably about as cheap as we could make it. So we're not doing the Patreon for the money, because it's not making us any money. It costs me $20 a month to distribute the pod. So if anything, it just helps pay for that. Helps pay for the video editing app I use that I have a monthly subscription to. So we're just putting that money, pay for merch that we have to buy. Again, yeah, we haven't talked about merch in a while. If you want a shirt,
we haven't.
If you want a shirt, please reach out to us. We will get you a shirt. We're $30. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
$30 a shirt. We will get them shipped to you. I think that's all I wanted to cover. Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate you. And until next time, we are the Screaming Idiots. We'll see you next week.
Peace, love, dove.